One Piece chapter 558. When you talk about an action-packed chapter, oh my god, it's so much action in this. Like, Oda just swept me away in this one. But see, this is why I enjoy reading One Piece as much as I do. Because even in chapters like this, where you got Luffy fighting the different people, and he acknowledges, like, oh, there's Moria there. He's going to be a problem. And Luffy runs into Hina. Hina has the keys. And, well, not the keys, but she has that devil fruit where she's able to lock everyone up. And Luffy says, I got keys for this shit. Bitch, I'm getting out of here. Even when that happens, okay? Oda, in the midst of all the fighting, manages to sneak in more character development and more emotion. He continues to build on emotional atmosphere. And what you see in a lot of shonens is when it comes to building an emotional atmosphere, sometimes it takes a back seat, particularly in battle shonens, because they go, oh, well, we need to focus on cool fights. Really cool fights are what's going to keep people interested. And you even see it here. Like, Luffy is in the midst of damn near every fucking panel. Even when he's not mentioned, he's there because Luffy is the main character. He's super popular. You have to keep Luffy involved in some way so as to not alienate your reader base, okay? So I get that part. But see, where Oda managed to pull off something really brilliant in this chapter is the interactions that Luffy indirectly has. Because let's look at what he has directly to make this point. Your direct interactions, you have him speaking to Whitebeard, and he says, like, yeah, they're going to move Ace's execution up. They're going to move him up as soon as the preparations are complete. Whitebeard says, oh, well, damn, that changes everything. Thanks for letting me know this. And after Luffy leaves, and Luffy's like, Ace, you hang in there for a second. I'm going to save you. Jumps right into the thick of the battle. When Whitebeard hears it from another one of his men, he says, look, they don't do this stuff by mistake. Them not sticking to their schedule because we're pirates. No. They wanted us to know it's a trap. Don't fall for this. And so, right there, it just shows you that Luffy, he's got in his head like, yeah, well, we're trying to save my brother. Damn, you're pretty tall. Yeah, we're trying to save my brother. We're after the same thing. I thought you should know. And indirectly, people are watching this and they're going, he's talking to Whitebeard like they're equals. So you're seeing indirect interaction with Luffy and the other characters. And then when Luffy's just jumping in and just swing on everybody, and they're like, oh, is that Ace's little brother? Oh, wow, he's pretty skilled. Is he Roger's son? No, Roger died. How is this happening? And then that's when the bombshell gets dropped on everybody. Like, yeah, that's Dragon's son. Like, Dragon the Revolutionary. And that's how Doflamingo, right? Like, he just crouched down, and he's like, so you mean this upstart? Okay, now this is making sense. Doflamingo, at this point, he's got a hard-on for Luffy. Luffy was always on his radar because of the whole Bellamy thing. He's got a hard-on for this dude. And even Boa Hancock, right? Her panties are so wet right now. Because she's like, even if you're the spawn of a demon, ba-bum, and that's literally drawn on there. Like, she's getting super excited. And she's just like, well, he's a spawn of a demon, but I still want to have his babies. I want to have some little rubber inside of me. And maybe Luffy can stretch. And I have a lot of rubber inside of me. Like, she is all in on this dude, Luffy. And that's when you have Mihawk, where he says, at this point, nothing would surprise me. And the bombshells there, they're reporting the news everywhere. And you see Garp. Indirectly, the interaction with Luffy is here, where Garp is just like, well, at this point, Luffy's already an outlaw. He's notorious. This can't hurt him anymore. And yet, this is what Oda does with the emotional atmosphere. You know that tore Garp up, because he physically said it. Like, he opened his mouth up and he spoke those words. And yet, Garp was trying to protect Luffy as well. And Garp is in a situation where he could potentially lose both of his grandsons. Like, Garp, the internal struggle with him is real. And where you got Marco showing up and Whitebeard says, you don't let him die. You watch after him. And that's in the same chapter where Ivankov is showing up, and Ivankov, it might have been last chapter, where Ivankov blocks one of Kuma's attacks, then blocks Kizaru's attack, and Kizaru's just like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting to see you this soon, dude. Let's get it on. The Celestials keep asking me about you. It was this chapter. The Celestials keep asking me about you. I'm supposed to capture you. Ivankov winks and stops the blast. Kuma shoots the blast. And this is what's interesting. I think Kuma came from the Revolutionary Army. I know you're like, oh no shit, Kryptonian. No, well, fuck you for a second, okay? And the reason why is Ivankov, it's two reasons. Ivankov says, well, how could you do that to a former, I think he said former ally? But the other thing is when Kuma meets Luffy, and I want to say this was on Thriller Bark, where he shows up and he has that mention of Dragon. And I was like, well, what's his connection to Dragon? Is he a double agent? So we do know that he did used to be with the Revolutionary Army. We know that from this. But the other thing is, I think he's still a double agent because, you know, he was like, that's your son. He could have killed him. He didn't. He sent his ass off. Knew the world government wanted him. Allowed Zoro to take his pain. Potentially thought about letting Sanji do it. Went with Zoro instead because Zoro has the biggest set of balls than Sanji. I know that's going to trigger some people. Whatever. But here's the thing about this, right? When you have all that in there, and you have these fights, it's going back to what Doflamingo said. Everything isn't black and white. There's a twist coming somewhere. And Oda is very skillfully using the emotional atmosphere of what's going on right now. Using this atmosphere to provide a red herring. He's preparing something else without us actually knowing what it is. But he's preparing it. And this is one of those situations where Oda lays the groundwork here, and then 15 chapters or 15 volumes later, he progresses it. And then 30 volumes later, it actually happens. No, this is going to be a bait and switch. There's something coming here. So while all this fighting's going on, Luffy's just making his way through. And what's got me is the fact that you could see a scenario where Luffy has someone back him up at either turn as he works his way towards Ace. And this is what's interesting. When it gets to Luffy and Ace, and this is the crux of the chapter for me, okay? Gets to Luffy and Ace. Ace says like, hey, we went to sea at different times. I have my own adventures. I have my own friends. I have my own way about doing things. You don't belong here. Turn back. I saw that shit right away. I was like, there's some truth to what he's saying. He was like, look, man, Luffy, you don't belong. And I said it when it was going into the whole build-up and everything. I'm like, outside of being his brother, and now we know they're not blood brothers, so that makes it even different. But I was like, Luffy really has no claim to be here. Like, there's only so far you can take this whole thing with being relatives and everything. Luffy has not justified being in this war. What side does he take? Whitebeard has no reason to work with him. He isn't as powerful as the rest of them. Luffy can't keep up with the admirals. He's too weak. I was like, the payoff ain't gonna work. And that's why I keep going back and forth. Like, Luffy's gonna see Ace die, Ace is gonna live. Like, Oda, it's like he keeps going back and forth. But this is why Luffy's here. Because Luffy's being challenged. Because you know that cut at Luffy, his heart as a character. You know it cut him. Because his brother tried to cast him aside, and then he puts his head hanging forward. And it's because, like Garp, Ace is trying to protect Luffy, and this little knucklehead will not allow him to do it. And Luffy says, look, I'm your little brother. I don't care about any of that. I'm your little brother. And then you get the flashback. And this is how you use flashbacks. Because they're short and they're to the point, and they add character interactions that we didn't get to see earlier with these characters. Because what you see now is an actual relationship with these two sprinkled in with the flashbacks, okay? And Ace says, like, hey, if we drink from each other's cups, we're brothers. We'll be brothers forever. And you see the two of them laughing and smiling. Luffy with that band-aid over his face. Like, you see everything. And it's because Luffy never forgot that. And Ace is trying to protect him. He says, he's thinking to himself like, Luffy, don't come here. And it just tells you, Luffy, there's the point of no return. Luffy didn't just pass the point of no return. He didn't bought property there and started. He didn't just buy property, okay? He didn't just buy a house and all that. He bought property after looking around and saying, this is a really nice neighborhood. I don't like any of these houses. What's that lot right there for sale for? Okay, I'm buying that lot and I'm going to build my own house there. I'm building the house. Like, that's what Luffy just did. So I'm completely flabbergasted right now because Oda, this takes balls to do what he's doing. This takes a lot of balls because this is an action-heavy chapter and a lesser writer would have just focused more so on the action. But you can argue that the emotional climate for this chapter is more important than any other fights that are going on. This is going to be a war arc. There are going to be tons of battles going on. Tons of them. You might see Luffy try and fight all of the warlords. Get his ass whooped by all of them. Boy Hancock might be there to tend to his wounds. She might even get a baby out of him. But what you're going to see is there's going to be an emotional build-up towards each of those fights. The payoff is being set up for the end of this arc right now. The payoff's being set up because as a writer, you don't divest, or excuse me, you don't invest this much emotional groundwork into something if you're not planning a huge ending. And the thing is, it's like when it comes to shonens and everything, when you do war arcs and all that, you have to, it's very, very, very complicated because Japan has a huge history of war. You got the United States dropping all those bombs on Tokyo. You have Hiroshima. Before that, you have Japan and China fighting on the Korean Peninsula over their stuff. Japan, when it comes to war, very different than the United States. They have a long history with war. We went the feudal lords fighting over territories and everything. And so when you try and tell a war arc, you have to be trying to make a statement on what you think the human life is, the human journey, what war is, the deeper meaning in war, and what the sacrifices of war really are. So far, fodder have died. And so it's like Oda is potentially having something built up, and I think there's two candidates to die. I think the most obvious is the elephant in the room. Ace could die. There's three now. I just thought about this. Ace could die. That's the most obvious candidate. I think Garp might die. And the reason why I think Garp might die is he's struggling with his internal conflict. While everything else is going on, that'd be the external. He's supposed to be out there fighting as well. Garp, I mean, this dude's just throwing fucking camos like, da, da, da. Like, we know Garp is strong. Garp could probably be out there soloing dudes, but he's not. He's sitting there with his pseudo-grandson. The child that he basically raised from birth. Made the promise to Roger, watch the mother give birth. If anything happens to Ace, Garp will follow. Or Garp might give him his life for Ace. Because think about it, the whole fucking family, okay? Like, and that's the thing about One Piece. There is a whole message on what family is. Family isn't just blood. Like, my close friend Helmy, okay? It's like a brother to me, dude. Like, he's closer to me as, you know, a brother than my actual brother is. You know? Like, that's my dude. Okay, like that's the guy who taught me stick shift when I wanted to learn to change oil in order to impress somebody that I worked with and everything. That's the guy that, because I was trying to change oil on the Explorer and all that because, anyway, I mean, foolish shit. But like, family isn't just what you go through, you know, on a day-to-day basis. The people who share your blood. Family are people that you interact the most with. And so when you look at Garp's family, like Dragon is revolutionary. When you look at Roger, they're kind of like brothers. And the reason I say kind of like, they had their fights and everything. And you had Garp basically take his last request to watch out for his son because his son was innocent. Roger, king of the pirates. You had Ace and the Whitebeard pirates, about to be executed. Luffy, grandson of Dragon. Luffy, also a pirate. Garp understands everything's happened. He has nothing else to lose. In fact, after all this is over, if he doesn't die, you can see his rank being stripped because he's set out and because of who his grandson is. That's just how politics works. So Garp as a character is reaching that point where he's no longer useful. So as an author, you either have to reinvent the character or you have to kill the character off or send them off into riding into the sunset. So it could be Garp. And then the other one that might be the surprise. It's Ace lives. Garp lives. Whitebeard dies saving Ace. And Ace takes over the Whitebeard pirates. So that's it for my chapter review today. A little bit longer than the usual chapter review. Obviously, the longer the review, the more there's stuff I want to talk about. And the more I enjoyed it. But the other thing is my chapter question to you guys is, what were your thoughts about Luffy's interaction with Hina in that line? Okay, Luffy says in that line, he says, I'm tired of being locked up. Luffy sound like a brother, man. Luffy says, I ain't going back to jail. Fuck this shit. I'm getting the fuck up out of here. That's what I got the scene from Luffy, man. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video, guys. Have an awesome day.